In this demo, we're going to talk about setting up the interactive legend. So now we're looking at the interactive legend. What we're able to do is turn these lines on and off, right? So we can show them and we can remove them. And here we're showing the total population by country from the years 1994 to 2000. So let's talk about how to build something like this. I'm going to start over here on the Data Example tab. So here we have our raw data. That's our information. What we need to do next is create a transformation layer. That transformation layer is what's going to help us create that chart interaction. So what I like to do here is sometimes I call it an intermediate table. Sometimes I call it a transformation table. It really depends on what you like. Intermediate is kind of a way to think of it between the raw data and the presentation. But here, just for the sake of consistency, I'm going to call it transformation table right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of that raw data that's important. So here I'm going to say A2. I'll just drag this down here just so it's all connected. So if something were to change up here, it would change down here. And then here, I don't necessarily need to do this. I could do this in fewer steps. So always think about doing more with less, but I think in this case, for the point of demonstration, it is worth repeating, and sometimes it is worth repeating some formulas if it's going to help you out in the end. Remember, developmental memory is very important to what we do. We should be building in a way that we understand what we did later on, while still holding on to the idea of doing more with less. Okay, so recall that we talked about the checkbox, and the checkbox allows us to toggle things on and off. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to write is showing. I like doing it like this, asking a question, because then the response, true or false, is semantic. I understand whether it's showing or not. And then what I'll do here is from on this developer tab, I'm going to go to this toolbox where it says insert. Remember, we're only dealing with these top ones. I'm going to grab a checkbox right here. I'm going to throw it right here just so I know that it's related to Oceania. And inside of here, with this checkbox selected, you can see that my mouse has a cursor, which means I can change what it says in checkbox 4. So here, I'm just going to delete it, and I'm going to hand type Oceania, like that. And these aren't real countries, as you might expect. Now, what I could do is I could go back to the developer tab, and I can insert 2 more checkboxes. I'm going to make my life a little bit easier. I'm going to hold Control. I'm going to click Oceania. I'm going to hold Control C to copy it, and then I'll click off and hit Control V to paste it. You see it went a little farther down, so I'll drag this one back up here, and I'll hit Control V to paste another one here. Okay, so we have our checkboxes like so. It's probably a good idea to change what each one of them says so that they don't all say Oceania. So I'll hold Control. I'm going to click into this middle one. You can see that it brought up that cursor again, so I'll just click in there, select the whole thing, make it Frionia. I'll click off, hold Control again, select this bottom one. It's a 2-step process, so once you've clicked, you have to click inside again to be able to edit. So here I'll type in West Cassidy. And I'll click off here. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is hook these up to the spreadsheet. So I've put them next to the cell that's going to store whether they've been toggled or not. So again, very easy to do. We're going to hold Control, click Oceania. I'm going to click in here to the formula bar. Remember to type in equals when you do this. I'll type in equals, and then I'll select cell I8, hit enter. So as I flip this on and off, it goes true or false. Where it says Frionia, I'm going to hold Control. Again, click in the formula bar, hit equals. I'm going to put this right under in cell I9. We'll hit OK here. Always a good idea when you've hooked it up just to test it out. And finally, we're going to do this with West Cassidy. Click on the checkbox, go up in here in the formula bar, hit equals, cell I10, select, hit enter, and then again we're going to test it out. Okay, so now that we have this information, we can begin toggling. So remember that false and true are 0 and 1 to Excel. So you can multiply these quantities by other values. So how can we do this? Well, what I'm going to do is say equals cell B2, and I'm going to multiply it by cell I8, and I'm going to hit F4 just to toggle through the different locking positions that I could do. So here, what I'm going to say is I want to lock column I, but I don't want to lock row 8, and you'll see why in a second. So I'll hit enter here. I'm just going to drag this all the way over. So you see that these are all 0. Now why are they 0? Well, we can figure that out very easily. If I go to the Formulas tab, I can click Evaluate Formula. And I'll just bring this up here so you can see it. We hit Evaluate 4400. That's this value right here, what we're pulling from. We multiply that by a false. That becomes a 0. Now watch what happens if I check this back on. You can see that it is actually the series that we're interested in. Now remember that when I drag to the right, I made cell I8 only absolute with respect to column I. So that means that with this dynamic, I can drag right, and then I can double click, which goes down, and you can see that all of these are hooked up in the way that we want. So what do we want to do next? Well, what we can do is we can select cell A8 all the way through H10. We go to the Insert tab, and then we can select a line chart like so. I'm going to put this right over here. Let's just kind of resize it a little bit just so we can see it. Okay, so we have Oceania, Fredonia, and West Cassidy up here. And here we have this chart title. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that for now because we know the data that we're looking at. And look what I can do. I can turn this information on and off. I can make it disappear and reappear. Okay, so this is the quick and dirty setup that we can do. And if you're in a time pinch and you got to send this to your boss, or someone has asked for something very quickly, or you want to do your own investigative analysis, you could probably stop right here. But some of the things that I don't really like about this is that when things go to 0, they show up down below. Now, it used to be, in previous versions of Excel, that it wasn't so apparent when things went to 0. It didn't show like that. But in Excel 2013 and onward, it becomes a little bit more apparent. And also just with these animations, it doesn't look great. So wouldn't it be great if there was a way we could totally flip it off? So we're going to talk about that in our next act.